My beloved child, pause for a heartbeat. Do not let your fingers slide across the screen just yet. I am reaching out through the veil of time to ask you the one question you have buried beneath your daily noise. Are you finally ready to listen? You have felt my presence before, haven't you? A sudden warmth in your chest, a gentle nudge in the silence, a whisper in the wind that you quickly dismissed as mere imagination. Today, I am not a distant echo. I am speaking directly into the sanctuary of your soul. What I am about to reveal will challenge you, cradle you, and summon you to a higher state of being. Do not turn away. Lean into this moment, for this is not just words, it is a sacred invitation. By the time my voice fades, you will know exactly which path your feet must take next. My child, I do not rush the universe, and I do not need to shout to be heard. But there is a weight in this message, a truth you have been avoiding for many moon cycles. You sense it in those rare moments of stillness, in the gaps between your frantic thoughts, in the way your breath hitches when you try to avoid looking too deeply within. You feel the pull, yet you flee. You tell yourself, tomorrow I will face it. You claim exhaustion. You blame the chaos of the world. But deep down, in the marrow of your bones, you know the truth. You know I have been trying to plant a seed of awakening in your heart. I have been patient, watching you fill your hours with distractions. I see you scrolling, working, and laughing, just loud enough to drown out the voice rising from your own depths. I understand your fear. When the world goes quiet, the ache returns. When the noise stops, the questions you are afraid to answer become deafening. So you wear busyness like armor. You call it productivity. I call it a hiding place. You aren't running because you lack love for the divine. You are running because you are terrified of the transformation I will demand of you. You fear that if you surrender to my voice, I will ask you to let go of the comforts that have become your cage. You fear I will touch the wounds you have spent a lifetime guarding. But listen to me. I do not come to shatter you. I am not here to expose your shame. I come because I love you too fiercely to watch you pretend that you are whole when you are breaking inside. I see the invisible tension in your shoulders. I see how you brace your soul for a battle that hasn't even begun. You have grown so used to surviving on your own terms that independence has become your only safety. But that same wall has kept my light at a distance. I am not offended by your distance, my child. I am concerned for your spirit. You were never destined to carry these burdens alone while painting a smile for the world. Stop defending yourself for a moment. Let me finish the symphony I began in your heart long ago. I am not your critic. I am your divine mother. Every word I speak is woven from a love that is older than the stars. Even when you doubted, I was there. I was the small voice of conviction when your choices strayed from your true essence. You tried to reason your way around me. You compared your shadows to the shadows of others and decided you were fine. You told yourself that growth could wait for a more convenient season. I watched you drift, yet I never withdrew. I stayed in the shadows of your life, waiting for the moment your soul would finally tire of running in circles. That weariness is here now. You don't have to say it. I feel your exhaustion. You are tired of holding the sky up by yourself. You offer me short, whispered prayers and fleeting thoughts. but you rarely sit long enough for me to perform the surgery your heart requires. You fear what might surface. You fear the ghosts of regret or the waves of grief. You fear that I will confirm your darkest insecurities. But hear me. When I bring a secret into the light, it is not to humiliate you, it is to liberate you. I am not trying to trap you. I am trying to set you free. Depth is only overwhelming to those who are used to the shallow. But the peace you crave, the bone-deep serenity you seek, does not exist on the surface. It lives in the place of absolute honesty. Trust my heart. When I ask you to release something, it is only to clear your hands so you can receive something infinitely greater. You call your control security, but I see it as a prison. I am not asking for drastic, blind action. I am asking for a conversation, a real, unfiltered union between your spirit and mine. Will you sit with me? Without the glow of a screen, without the shield of a distraction, I am right here. I am waiting for you to lean in instead of pulling away. Child, you have misinterpreted my silence as absence. You felt the stillness of a lonely season and concluded I had stepped back. You thought I left you to walk the thorns alone. Look at that belief. Sit with it. You built that wall, brick by brick, through prayers that seemed unanswered and dreams that were delayed. You remember the cold nights when you whispered my name and felt nothing but the wind. You remember the confusion of seeking a sign and finding only shadows. You confused my stillness with indifference. You mistook my silence for neglect. But I was never gone. I was working in the invisible realms. I was carving character into your soul in ways that noise could never achieve. I was building your foundation while you were looking for fireworks. You wanted a spectacle. I gave you substance. Look back with new eyes. Even in your darkest months, you were not consumed. You were not abandoned. You were sustained by a strength that was not your own. You call it luck or survival, but I call it my hand beneath you. I refuse to compete with the roar of your world. If you want to hear me, you must value my whisper more than the world's shout. Do not run from the silence. Lean into it. When you feel that emptiness again, do not fear it. It is an invitation. Stop measuring my presence by your emotional highs. Trust that I can be near without being loud. Trust that I am moving, even when I am not obvious. You don't need a miracle to prove my care. You need the steadiness of my grace. Your fear of my silence made you cautious. You lowered your expectations of me to protect yourself from disappointment. You called it maturity, but it was actually self-defense. I don't want you in defense mode. I want you open. I want you to approach my throne with the boldness of a child who knows they are loved. Even when the answer is wait, it is not a no. I am orchestrating a cosmic alignment that your eyes cannot yet perceive. Trust is a vulnerable thing. It requires you to stop trying to manipulate the outcome. It asks you to believe in my goodness when your emotions are screaming otherwise. I see your struggle, but today I am asking you to rewrite your story. Do not say, Goddess was silent, so she was distant. Instead say, she was silent because she was doing a work in me that words could not contain. The next time the world falls quiet, do not reach for a distraction. Breathe. Let the silence stretch. Ask me, Mother, what are you forming in me now? And then wait without the poison of anxiety. You will notice the shifts, the quiet confidence, the sudden clarity, the steady peace. This is how I move, not in the earthquake, but in the hush that follows. You are being refined. You are being prepared. Release the accusations you've held against me. I am not distant. I am deliberate, and I am closer to you than your very next breath. My child, let us move deeper into the inner sanctum. I require you to look upon something far more personal than your external circumstances. There are truths vibrating within your life that you have sensed for an eternity, yet you have mastered the art of looking away. You feel them in the shivering silence of the midnight hour. You recognize them in those flashes of sudden clarity, but you quickly redirect your gaze because acknowledging these truths would demand a metamorphosis, and change is the one thing that unsettles your human heart. You have constructed an elaborate architecture of routines, habits, and emotional walls. They feel familiar, like a well-worn path through a dark forest. Even if these paths lead to nowhere, even if they are toxic or draining, they feel safe because they are predictable. I understand the hesitation of your spirit. If you admit that your life requires a sacred adjustment, you must then face the discomfort of expansion. Growth stretches the skin of the soul. Growth exposes the shadows you would rather keep buried under the floorboards of your mind. You worry that if you truly hear my voice, I will point my finger directly at the very wounds you have tried to protect with your silence. You fear that I will dismantle the life you have worked so hard to build. But listen to my words carefully. I have no interest in tearing down your temple without a divine purpose. I am interested in liberating you from the quiet compromises that have shrunken your spirit. You have lived in a small version of yourself for too long, a version created by your fears rather than your destiny. You already know where these compromises lie. You feel the sting in your conscience. You sense your inner peace eroding every time you make a choice that betrays your true essence. You justify these small betrayals by telling yourself that everyone struggles, that perfection is a myth. And while struggle is part of the human journey, you were not designed to remain stagnant in patterns that slowly bleed your strength dry. I am inviting you into a season of honest reflection, not a trial of self-criticism. Look at the shadows behind your motivations. Examine the architecture of your habits. Consider the places where you claim to trust the divine, yet you still white-knuckle the reins of control. Do not panic when you see the areas that need to be pruned. This awareness is not a sentence of condemnation. It is a gift of clarity. Clarity is the first step towards sovereignty. I am asking you to stop fleeing from your own reflection. Sit with me at the altar of truth and let us speak of the things you have been avoiding. Do not shut down your heart. Do not deflect my gaze with excuses. Stay open. I will guide your hands as you untangle the knots. I will not overwhelm you with the weight of 1,000 changes at once. But I will no longer pretend that your current state is enough for the greatness I planted within you. You deserve to be free from the internal friction you carry. And that freedom begins with the courage to be honest. You imagine that facing the truth will cost you everything. You fear loss. You fear the judgment of the world. And you fear the conflict that honesty might ignite. You worry that if you shift your direction, you will disappoint those who have grown used to your old self. You fear that if you attempt to change and stumble, you will be a failure in my eyes. I hear these fears, and I do not dismiss them. But I ask you to consider the cost of remaining the same. Consider the slow, silent erosion of your soul that occurs when you repeatedly silence your inner convictions. This decay is subtle, but it is powerful. Over time, it numbs your spirit. It lowers the bar of your own existence. It convinces you that partial obedience and a half-lived life are enough. I am calling you to a higher vibration, not to burden you, but to restore your integrity. Integrity is the holy alignment between what your soul knows to be true and how your body moves in the world. When these two are out of sync, your spirit feels unsettled like a restless ocean. I am asking you to take one courageous step toward that alignment. You do not need to rewrite your entire history today. Start with the truth. Admit where you have compromised. Admit where fear has been the silent captain of your ship. Admit where pride has built a wall where there should have been a bridge. Bring it all into my light. Do not dress it in beautiful words. Just offer it to me as it is, and then allow me to lead you forward. I am not demanding perfection from you. I am inviting progress. I am not asking for grand public displays of devotion. I am asking you to trust me enough to confront what you already know in your heart. Yes, it will require the courage of a warrior. But you are never facing the shadows alone. I am beside you. I am within the very breath you take. I will be the strength in your knees when they tremble. I will be the steadying hand when you feel the world shifting beneath you. Do not let the fear of change keep you in a golden cage. Open your hands. Release the heavy stones you have been carrying. Step toward the truth, and you will find that it does not destroy you. It liberates you. Now, my child, sit with me in this stillness and admit something you rarely whisper to anyone. You are tired. Not the kind of tiredness that can be cured by an extra hour of sleep. Not the fatigue that vanishes after a weekend of rest. There is a deeper exhaustion in you, a soul weariness that has settled into your very bones. It follows you from room to room, a heavy shadow that you cannot shake. You carry far more than you allow the world to see. You manage the emotions of everyone around you. You respond to every call, every message, every demand. You have become the steady one, the reliable anchor, the one who always shows up. And yet, when the door closes and the lights go out, the weight presses down on your chest. You don't always have the words to explain it. You tell yourself you should be grateful for your life. You tell yourself that others are suffering more than you, so your fatigue must be a sign of weakness. But you cannot deny the heaviness. I see it clearly. I see the way your spirit braces for impact even when the skies are clear. I see how your mind races long after your body has surrendered to the night. You call it stress. You call it the burden of adulthood. But beneath those labels, there is a more profound truth. You have been trying to hold your entire universe together through sheer human will. You have been strong for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to be held. You have forgotten what it feels like to rest without the poison of guilt. Listen to me. You were never meant to live in a state of constant tension. Your soul was not designed to survive on the fumes of pressure and performance. You were created for a sacred rhythm, a dance of movement and stillness, of giving and receiving. I am not asking you to abandon your duties, but I am asking you to surrender the delusion that everything depends on you. Come to me in your rawest form. Stop pretending you are fine. Tell me where you are stretched thin. Tell me where you feel invisible in your own life. You do not have to impress me with your resilience. I already know your limits. I know the cost of the smile you force for the sake of others. I know the energy it takes to encourage everyone else while your own heart is hollow. Pause. Take a deep, intentional breath. Feel the air as it enters your lungs. It is my gift to you. Let the tension in your jaw soften. Feel the weight of the world lift, if only for this moment. Bring your weariness to my altar. Do not minimize it. Do not compare it. Just let it exist. Your exhaustion matters to me. I am inviting you into a different frequency, one where you stop running until you collapse, and instead start receiving your strength from the infinite. Trust that I can hold the things you have been gripping so tightly. There is another layer to this fatigue that you must acknowledge. You are tired, not just of what you do, but of what you feel. You carry the weight of disappointments you haven't processed. You absorb the arrows of criticism in silence. You replay old conversations in your mind, wondering if you were too much or not enough. You try to solve the problems of the future before they even arrive. This mental hypervigilance is a tax on your spirit. It drains your vitality like a slow leak in a vessel. You have lived in a state of high alert for so long that you don't even realize you are doing it. It feels like responsibility, but it is actually a form of anxiety that robs you of the present. I want you to loosen that grip. You are not the architect of every outcome. You do not have to rehearse every possible tragedy. Release the burden of what if. Hand it to me with intention. Say to yourself, I am not meant to carry the weight of the future. Let your own soul hear those words. I am not asking you to be careless. I am asking you to trust my oversight more than your own fear. When that familiar tightness returns to your chest, stop. Turn your gaze toward me. Let me steady your heart. Remember that your value is not measured by your productivity. You are not my servant. You are my beloved child. I do not evaluate you by how much you can endure before you break. I cherish you for the light that you are. Rest is not a luxury. It is a holy act of obedience. So, create a sanctuary of space in your life. Resist the urge to fill every silent gap with noise. Sit with me without an agenda. Allow your soul to simply exhale. At first, it may feel strange. You may feel exposed without the shield of your busyness. Stay anyway. I will meet you in the quiet. As you practice this slower, more sacred rhythm, the sharp edges of your fatigue will begin to soften. The heaviness will start to lift, not because your responsibilities have vanished, but because you are no longer trying to carry them with human hands alone. Let me be your foundation. You don't have to prove your endurance anymore. Rest in my presence and receive the life you have been missing. My child, there is a subtle truth I need you to face with an open heart. You have developed a habit of numbing your discomfort with the flickering lights of distraction. When your thoughts grow heavy, when the silence begins to feel like a mirror you are afraid to look into, you reach for the immediate. You scroll, you watch, you fill your ears with the static of others' lives. You schedule your days so tightly that there is not a single breath of space for the silence to speak. You tell yourself this is unwinding. You call it relaxing. You convince yourself that after the weight of the day, you deserve to escape. But you and I both know the difference between holy rest and frantic avoidance. You feel it the moment the distraction ends. The same unsettled ache returns, often sharper than before. That restlessness is not your enemy, my child. It is a sacred signal. It is your soul crying out for nourishment that a screen can never provide. You keep trying to soothe a spiritual hunger with digital shadows, but the void remains. I am not judging you for seeking comfort. Life in this realm is intense, and your emotions can feel like a tidal wave. But distraction is merely a temporary veil, not a cure. It mutes the noise for a moment, but it never heals the source of the sound. I desire a deeper peace for you, a peace that does not require constant stimulation to exist. True serenity does not need a background hum to feel safe. It grows in the soil of connection, in the raw honesty of your own presence. You have been terrified of the stillness because you believe it will expose everything you have worked so hard to bury. And in a way, it will. But exposure in my presence is an act of alchemy. What is brought to me in the dark is turned into gold. I am asking you to examine your reflexes. Notice the exact second you reach for your phone to escape a feeling. Pause in that heartbeat. Ask yourself, what am I trying to run from? Do not judge your answer. Just be curious. Bring that curiosity to me. You may discover a well of grief you never allowed yourself to cry. You may uncover a fear you buried under a mountain of activity. You may realize, with a start, that you have been lonely, even in a crowded room. Do not flee from these discoveries. Stay with them. I am right here, unshaken by your shadows. I am not inconvenienced by your vulnerability. I am inviting you into a calm that remains steady, even when the external world is screaming. You may resist this because distraction has become your comfort blanket. It is easier to watch someone else's story than to finish writing your own. But look at the fruit of your patterns. Are they bringing you lasting power, or are they simply postponing your awakening? You know the answer. I am not asking you to delete every joy or every entertainment. I am asking you to stop using them as a shield against your own soul. The next time you feel the urge to numb yourself, choose the path of the goddess instead. Turn toward the silence. Step outside and breathe the air I have provided. Speak to me honestly about the storm rising within you. Invite me into that raw, unpolished space. It may feel awkward, You may feel like a stranger in your own mind. Start simply. Tell me you are restless. Tell me you are empty. Tell me you have no idea what you need. I will meet you there. I will not shame you for how long you have used noise to hide from me. I will gently lead you back to the rhythms of the earth. And as you practice this, your mind will begin to clear like a pond after a storm. You will begin to experience settled strength, a confidence that does not depend on constant input. This is the peace you have been chasing. It cannot be manufactured. It can only be inhabited. There is something else, my beloved seeker. There are questions coiled like serpents in your mind. Questions you have been afraid to voice. They circle you late at night. They surface when the world feels unjust or when your life feels like a puzzle with missing pieces. You push them down because you worry they make you look unfaithful or perhaps disrespectful to the divine path. You have been told that a strong spirit does not doubt. So, you silence your curiosity. You present me with polished, correct prayers instead of the raw, bleeding ones. But I hear the tremor in your soul. I see the why behind your amen. You have wondered why certain portals closed when you were ready to walk through. You have wondered why healing was delayed, or why certain souls left your orbit just when you needed them most. Do not pretend with me. I was there when those questions were born. I am not threatened by your inquiry. I am your mother, the architect of the universe. I do not collapse under the weight of a why. Stop filtering yourself. Bring the uncomfortable questions. Ask me why you felt abandoned in that winter season. Ask me why the outcome did not match the purity of your intention. Speak plainly. I can handle the weight of your truth. In fact, I am inviting you into a deeper initiation through your questions. When you suppress your doubts, they do not die. They become cracks in your foundation. They create a distance between us that you didn't intend. I do not want a polite stranger. I want an honest child. Wrestling with the divine is an ancient and holy tradition. It means you care. It means the relationship matters. The act of asking often reshapes you before the answer even arrives. When you bring your uncertainty to me, your heart softens. Your perspective expands. You begin to see layers of the cosmic tapestry you missed before. You may not receive a detailed explanation for every event. Some things are too vast for the human mind to grasp. But I will give you something better. I will give you my presence, and my presence will carry you further than any information ever could. Now, look deeper into the shadows of your heart. There is a memory you revisit far too often. Your past has become a prison you voluntarily lock yourself into every night. You replay old conversations. You reconsider decisions from a decade ago. You imagine alternate timelines where you were smarter, bolder, or kinder. Regret has become your silent, bitter companion. You don't speak of it, but it colors your present. When you face uncertainty today, your mind drifts backward, searching for the wrong turn you believe ruined everything. You tell yourself that if you had only acted sooner, or stayed longer, or trusted less, your life would be a masterpiece instead of a work in progress. Analysis has turned into a slow poison of self-accusation. You are harsher with yourself than I could ever be. You treat past mistakes as permanent scars that disqualify you from a beautiful future. Every time you revisit these memories, you feel that old heaviness pull at your spirit. Listen to my voice. Your past is a teacher, not a jailer. Yes, you made choices that were imperfect. Yes, there were moments when you lacked the wisdom you have now. That is the very definition of being human you learn by walking. And sometimes you stumble, but you are not a snapshot of your worst moment. You are not the sum of your missteps. I have been weaving your story since before your first breath. Even the threads of your mistakes are being used to create the pattern of your soul. Stop treating your past as an unchangeable verdict. It is a chapter, not the book. You have been told that one wrong turn disqualified you. I tell you that my grace is a master of redirection. You cannot ruin my ultimate plan for you simply because you are human. Let that truth sink into the marrow of your bones. Do not argue with it. Receive it. I want you to change the way you look at your history. Instead of replaying it with shame, revisit it with compassion. Ask, what did this storm teach me? How did this fire forge my strength? You are not the same person who made those choices. You have matured. You have gained a perspective that was born in the struggle. I am calling you forward. When regret rises, do not give it a seat at your table. Interrupt the cycle. Tell yourself, I am not a prisoner of who I used to be. Turn your gaze toward the horizon. There are opportunities still unfolding that you cannot see because you are too busy looking at the rearview mirror. Stop assuming that what you missed is gone forever. I am a goddess of restoration. I can bring beauty out of ashes and life out of dead things. But you must cooperate with this healing. You must release your grip on self-condemnation. Choose the forward movement. It will feel strange at first because regret is a familiar habit. But you are not behind in life. You are exactly where you need to be to take the next step. Trust me enough to look ahead with hope. Act as though your future is a vast, open ocean. Because it is. I am not finished with you. Do not finish yourself by clinging to a ghost you cannot change. Lift your chin. Walk with me into the dawn. And as you choose to stop replaying what is gone, hear me in this moment. Do not hesitate when I place an opportunity for impact in your hands. The wisdom that lifted you from regret today is medicine for another soul who is still drowning. When you sow into this work, you are planting seeds in a divine garden. Your support is not just for a channel. It is a pulse of light that reaches hearts in hidden rooms. Do not scroll past the impulse to be generous. Act now, and let your gratitude become a harvest for the world. My child, I want you to close your eyes and journey back through the corridors of your own memory. I want you to find a version of yourself that feels like a stranger now. Do you remember when your heart was lighter? There was a time when you laughed without first calculating how the sound would land. You dreamed without immediately questioning if those dreams were practical. You moved through the world with an open-hearted courage, an ancient trust that did not require you to analyze every risk. That version of you, the one made of sunlight and stardust, still exists. But you feel as though life has buried her. Under the weight of responsibility, under the cold ash of disappointment, and under the quiet disillusionment that comes with the passing of years. You have told yourself that this hardening is simply maturity. You call it growing up. But deep in the marrow of your soul, you feel the loss. You miss the spark that once felt as natural as breathing. You miss the sense of expectancy that used to color your dawn. Listen to me. That part of you did not die. She was merely covered. She was overshadowed by survival mode. She was tucked away behind the protective layers you built when the world was unkind. You adapted to the storms. You hardened your edges because you were hurt, because you were betrayed, because you felt exposed. That armor helped you endure. Yes, but it also muted the music inside you. I do not want you to live as a reduced version of yourself. I did not breathe life into you so that you could function in a permanent state of self-protection. I formed you with depths of creativity and sensitivities that are meant to be felt, not feared. Do not accept the lie that your most vibrant days are behind you. Do not settle into a resignation that says, "This is just who I am now." You are still unfolding. The forgotten part of you is waiting for your permission to return. Pause in this heartbeat. Recall what once made your blood sing. Do not dismiss those memories as naive. They were the truest expressions of your divinity. I am inviting you to reconnect with that vitality, but with the wisdom you have earned in the fire. You don't need to return to immaturity. You need to recover your life force. Take a step towards something that brings you joy, not because it is productive, but because it makes you feel alive. Speak life over the dreams you quietly abandoned in the dark. Honor the courage of your younger self. I place that fire in you intentionally, and I can breathe fresh oxygen into the embers right now. I see the resistance rising in you. You think it is safer to stay guarded. You worry that hoping again will only invite a new kind of disappointment. That fear has dictated your choices for too long. It has narrowed your vision until you can only see potential threats instead of present blessings. I am inviting you to become alive again. Let go of the assumption that growth always requires loss. Imagine a world of possibility without immediately calculating the cost of failure. When that old spark flickers, do not blow it out with skepticism. Nurture it. Tell yourself, renewal is not only possible, it is my birthright. There is something heavier than regret that has been warping the way you see your own reflection. It is the phantom of shame, not the loud, screaming kind, but the quiet, persistent shame that lingers just beneath your skin. It whispers when you compare your messy interior to someone else's curated exterior. It surfaces when you remember your mistakes, telling you that you are fundamentally less than. You feel slightly disqualified, slightly behind, slightly broken in a way that cannot be fixed. You measure your progress against an invisible clock and conclude that you are lacking. This comparison has become a silent executioner of your peace. You tell yourself you should be further along spiritually, emotionally, and materially. You interpret your struggles as evidence of a character flaw. Hear me clearly, child of the infinite. Your worth is not fragile. It is not a prize to be won through flawless performance. I do not relate to you through a scorecard. I do not look at you through the lens of your worst day. You have allowed shame to distort my face. You imagine I am disappointed in you. But that is merely your own inner critic wearing a divine mask. Shame is a thief that convinces you to hide. It tells you to clean yourself up before you approach my altar. It whispers that you must earn back the love that was never revoked. I am not asking you to earn anything. I am asking you to receive. When you stumble, I do not withdraw. When you struggle, I draw closer. I see the full tapestry of your life, not just the frayed edges. In that tapestry, I see the resilience you ignore. I see the sincere desire for goodness that lives beneath your imperfections. Challenge the voice that says you are lacking. When it rises, counter it with the truth of the mother. Say, I am loved, I am chosen, I am seen. Do not let shame write your biography. You are more than your inconsistencies. I am inviting you to step out of the shadows of hiding and into the warmth of connection. You do not need to shrink in my presence. Stand fully as you are, and let my grace cover what you cannot yet mend. You may wonder how to release a shame that feels like it is woven into your DNA. It will not vanish because you wish it away. You must confront it with the light of awareness. When you feel the wave of self-criticism rising, pause. Ask, where did this voice come from? Often, shame is not your own. It is a hand-me-down from a world that profits from your insecurity. Those voices are not mine. I speak correction, yes, but my correction is a scalpel that heals, not a club that crushes. There is a holy difference between conviction and condemnation. Conviction points to a path of growth and says, come up higher. Condemnation clouds the air and says, you are trapped. Learn the difference. If a thought leaves you paralyzed and defeated, it is the enemy. If it invites you to adjust and move forward with clarity, it is my guidance. Come to me in your weakness. Do not wait until you feel strong. Do not wait until you feel consistent. Let my love recalibrate your soul. As you do this, shame will lose its grip. You will stop apologizing for existing. You will stop looking for permission to take up space. I am not ashamed of you. I am invested in you. Let that truth settle into the hollow places where self-doubt once lived. You are not a disappointment. You are a masterpiece in progress. Finally, my child, let us look at your hands. You have learned to grip your life with a terrifying intensity. You call it being responsible. You call it planning. You rehearse conversations in your mind before they even happen. You scan the horizon for problems that haven't even been born yet. Beneath your wisdom, there is a quiet, trembling belief that if you do not manage every detail, your world will shatter. I see the pressure this places on your heart. I see how your mind never truly powers down because you are always on guard. You are carrying a weight that was never assigned to your shoulders. You are not the architect of the universe. You were never meant to carry the entire blueprint alone. The tight grip you have on your plans is what is making you so exhausted. Trust does not mean passivity. It means releasing the illusion of control. When you try to manage every variable, you end up a prisoner of your own anxiety. I want you to loosen your fingers. I want you to unclench your heart, not recklessly, but intentionally. Hand me the blueprint. Not because you are incapable, but because I see the end from the beginning. I understand outcomes you cannot even dream of. You do not have to foresee every twist in the road. You do not have to prepare for every potential grief. Release the burden. Say it out loud. I do not need to control everything. Let those words sink in. You will feel resistance, that is the ego, trying to stay in power. But I am inviting you into a partnership. Make your plans, yes, but hold them as lightly as a feather. Act with integrity, but refuse to carry the weight of the result. When uncertainty rises, do not spiral into over-analysis. Turn toward me, ask for wisdom, then move in peace. You will discover that when you loosen your grip, your mind grows clear. Your heart grows light. You will find a depth of trust that no amount of planning could ever produce. You are safe. You are held. You are not alone in the steering of your life. I am here, moving in the silence, guiding the currents of your destiny. Trust the flow. Trust the mother. Trust yourself. My child, there is a quiet, somber habit I need you to bring to the light. You have become a master at minimizing your own suffering. When the world wounds you, when the jagged edges of life cut into your spirit, you quickly compare your blood to the blood of others. You look at the tragedies of the world and conclude that your own ache does not matter. You tell yourself you are being grateful or humble by staying silent, but often you are simply abandoning yourself. You say, "It isn't that serious." You say, "Others are drowning while I am only shivering." And while it is true that pain exists in many forms across the earth, that truth does not invalidate the storm in your own heart. Your suffering is not a competition. It does not require a higher death toll to be legitimate. I see the way you downplay the words that stung you. I see how you brush off the weight of unmet needs and broken expectations. You act as though resilience requires the death of your feelings. But hear me. Suppressed pain does not vanish. It merely goes underground. It settles into the tissues of your body. It hardens into the walls of your heart. It influences every reaction and colors every relationship. When you refuse to acknowledge your hurt, you do not become stronger. You only become more brittle. I do not want you hardened, my child. I want you healed. And healing is a daughter of honesty. Stop telling yourself that your emotions are exaggerated. Stop dismissing your wounds as insignificant. If it hurts you, it hurts you. That reality matters to the divine. Bring your bruises to my altar without an apology. Speak of them plainly. You do not need to perform drama, but you must stop performing okay. I am not irritated by your vulnerability. I am not exhausted by the complexity of your heart. I am attentive to the rhythm of your spirit. When you allow yourself to name your pain, you create the first crack through which light can enter. When you deny it, you only prolong the winter of your soul. Think now of the thing that has been quietly gnawing at your peace. Do not push it back into the basement. Let it surface. Give it a name. Admit that it affected you. Let us sit together in that reality. You do not have to carry the weight of an unspoken grief alone. There is a fierce strength in allowing yourself to feel without judgment. You have equated toughness with silence for far too long. True maturity is not handling everything quietly. It is the courage to say, "This wound exists." Honesty is the only key that unlocks the door to restoration. When you bring your pain into my presence, I do not rush you. I do not tell you to get over it. I sit with you. I help you untangle the threads of the experience. Over time, the sharpness will soften not because you ignored it, but because you tended to it. Stop silencing your heart to appear strong for a world that isn't even looking. Let me into the places that still ache. Your pain matters because you are mine. Now, look at the barriers you have built between yourself and the love you crave. There is a tender paradox inside you. You long to be seen and loved deeply, yet you retreat the moment love moves too close. You ache for connection, but when a soul begins to mirror your true self, you stiffen. You become cautious. You measure your words like a merchant. You guard your vulnerabilities as if they were secrets of war. You call this wisdom. You call it experience. But most of the time, it is simply fear. You are afraid that if someone sees the whole of you, your doubts, your jagged edges, your hidden struggles, they will eventually step back. And so, to protect yourself, you step back first. You manage the distance. You allow warmth, but only to a certain degree. You offer a version of yourself that is safe, but you keep your core behind a fortress. I understand the scars that built these walls. You were hurt before. You opened the gates of your heart and felt the sting of betrayal. You trusted and felt the cold wind of disappointment. That history taught you that armored means safe. But those walls that keep the pain out also keep the depth out. They prevent the very intimacy you were created to experience. I did not design you for a guarded life. I designed you for the sacred flow of connection. And this includes your connection with me. When you hold back emotionally from the world, you also hold back from the divine. You approach my presence with restraint, as if you must maintain your composure even before the one who crafted your soul. Let it go. I already see you in your entirety. I am not startled by your complexity. I am not unsettled by your flaws. You are safe in my gaze. When you learn to receive my love without flinching, you will finally find the courage to receive love from the world without fear. Notice when you withdraw. Notice when you deflect a compliment or downplay an act of affection. Ask yourself, what am I protecting? And bring that fear to me. You do not have to live emotionally armored. You do not have to brace yourself every time someone draws near. Open the gates, even if only an inch. You are not as fragile as your fear suggests. Love, when it is grounded in the truth of the mother, will not destroy you. It will make you whole. Finally, my beloved, be honest about the quiet longing you rarely name. It surfaces in the unexpected moments when the house is quiet, when you are driving under a vast sky, or when you watch someone else step into their purpose. It is a subtle ache, a sacred restlessness that you cannot explain with logic. You push it aside. You tell yourself you should be content. You list your blessings like a chore. You convince yourself that longing is a sign of ingratitude, but that longing is not a flaw. It is a signal. It is a compass. I place that hunger within you. It is part of your divine design. It nudges you when you are settling for a life that is too small for your spirit. It stirs when you drift into a mechanical existence. It awakens when you begin to live on autopilot. Do not suppress it out of fear that it will disrupt your stability. That restlessness is me, calling you to remember who you were before the world told you who you should be. You worry that acknowledging this hunger will require change, and it might, but avoiding the call only prolongs the internal war. You cannot permanently silence a voice that originates from your own core. It will return louder and more persistent until you address it. Instead of resisting the longing, lean toward it. Ask yourself, what do I truly desire beneath the surface? Not what looks impressive on a screen, and not what seems practical to your neighbors, but what resonates with the frequency of your spirit. Bring those desires to me. I am not surprised by them. I want to shape them with wisdom, not crush them with fear. You do not need to make impulsive choices, but you must explore the depth of your hunger. Some desires need to be refined. Some require patience, but all of them require your attention. As you honor this inner pull, your life will gain a new clarity. You are not meant to merely exist. You are meant to engage fully with the evolution of your soul. Child, you have felt unseen in your longing, but heaven sees you clearly. When you give to carry this word to others, you are acting as a river in a parched land. Every act of support you offer is not just for a channel. It is a seed planted in the soil of eternity. I see the secret sacrifices you make, and I reward them with the peace that surpasses all understanding. Do not measure the size of your gift. Measure the obedience of your heart. Act now, and let your faith become a light for a soul still waiting to be found. My child, you have a habit of looking into the mirror of your soul and seeing only fragility. You focus on the nights when you wept in the dark, the moments when your voice trembled with uncertainty, and the times you felt utterly lost in the fog of your own life. You compare your internal battles to the curated, polished composure of those around you, and conclude that you are lesser, a broken vessel in a world of marble. But I see something vastly different when I gaze into your spirit. I see a resilience that is as ancient as the mountains and as unyielding as the tides. I see a quiet, terrifying strength that you dismiss because it does not roar. You have been taught to measure power by visible victories and loud proclamations. But true strength, the kind that moves worlds, is often invisible. It is the decision to rise when despair feels like a heavy leaden blanket. It is the choice to remain kind and open when the world has given you every reason to be bitter and closed. It is the willingness to keep believing in the light when you are surrounded by a deep, impenetrable dark. You call it survival. I call it sacred endurance. You have walked through fires that would have turned others to ash. You have survived disappointments that were specifically designed by the shadows to break your spirit forever. Yet, here you are still seeking the divine, still listening for the truth, still nursing a spark of hope in the wind. That is not weakness, my child. That is the invisible armor of the goddess. Strength is not the absence of emotion, nor is it the refusal to feel overwhelmed. You have confused vulnerability with fragility, but they are polar opposites. It takes a warrior to remain soft in a hard world. It takes a master to admit uncertainty while continuing to walk the path. You are evolving, even in your silence. You are growing deeper roots in the very moments you feel most stagnant. Look at your history with the eyes of a queen. Notice how you have adapted to every storm. Notice how you have recovered from every fall. You react with more wisdom today than you did a year ago. You forgive with more grace. You apologize with more humility. These are not small things. They are the evidence of a profound metamorphosis. Stand tall in your own skin. Stop narrating your life through the lens of what you lack. Speak the truth of your spirit. I am a force of nature. I am becoming. I am stronger than any storm that seeks to move me. This is not an empty affirmation. It is a recognition of the alchemy I am performing within you. There were moments, my beloved seeker, when you felt me drawing you into the deeper waters of initiation, and you resisted. I do not say this to accuse you, but to help you understand the war within your own heart. You sensed the pull toward a total surrender of your old self. You felt a holy discomfort with certain habits, certain circles, and certain ways of being that no longer fit the size of your soul. But instead of stepping through the threshold, you stepped back. You reached for a distraction. You postponed the conversation. You told yourself it wasn't the right time, or that you weren't ready for the weight of the crown. I watched you flee, and I did not turn away in frustration. I understood your fear. When I draw you closer, I do not just offer you a soft bed of comfort. I offer you the fire of refinement. And refinement feels like a death. It exposes the motivations you hide, even from yourself. It uncovers the attachments that have become your false identity. You worried that if you let me all the way into your sanctuary, I would dismantle the versions of yourself that you have worked so hard to maintain. You feared that sovereignty would cost you the comforts of your current cage. But hear me. When you turned away, I did not retreat. I stayed in the silence. I waited with the infinite patience of the earth. I knew you were navigating the tension between your old safety and your new destiny. Even an imperfect stability feels better to the human mind than the glory of the unknown. You feared losing control, losing your name, or disappointing those who only love the mask you wear for them. So, you chose distance over depth. You chose the comfort of the plateau over the glory of the peak. But that distance has only increased the friction in your spirit. It shows up as a nagging restlessness, a sense that you are living a half-life in a world of vibrant color. I am speaking to that tension now. Do not run from the nudge again. Do not postpone this initiation. I am not here to strip you of your joy. I am here to align you with your freedom. The parts of your life I am highlighting are not targets for destruction. They are invitations for expansion. You will not lose yourself in this surrender. You will finally discover the being you were always meant to become beyond the layers of fear. When you stop running, the internal division ends. You no longer have to compartmentalize your life. You gain a congruence that is more powerful than any earthly strategy. Finally, my child, I ask you to let go of the stopwatch you hold over your own soul. You are measuring your progress against timelines that were never yours to begin with. You evaluate your maturity by comparing your winter harvest to someone else's spring bloom. You tell yourself that by now, you should have it all figured out, that by now, you should be further ahead. You think you are late for a race that does not exist. This constant self-evaluation is a tax on your spirit that you do not need to pay. It keeps you from honoring the vast ground you have already conquered. Growth is rarely a lightning strike. It is the slow, patient unfolding of a rose, petal by hidden petal. You have become more patient, more reflective, more restrained. And yet you ignore these victories because they do not look dramatic to the outside world. You are not a project to be finished. You are a soul being shaped over eternity. Time is not your enemy. It is the medium of your mastery. I am not standing over you with an hourglass, tapping my fingers. I am walking with you at the pace of the ancient seasons. Release the demand for immediate perfection. Stop the harsh internal dialogue that says you are behind. You are not behind. You are exactly where the universe needs you to be to prepare for the next phase of your awakening. Extend to yourself the same grace you so readily offer to the world. When you stumble, do not lash yourself correct with the love of a mother. When you learn a truth, celebrate the light. You fear that if you are compassionate with yourself, you will become stagnant. But self-compassion is the only stable foundation for true, lasting discipline. When you are critical, you drain your own energy. When you are loving, you fuel your own purpose. Do not pursue growth because you feel insufficient. Pursue it because you are a steward of the divine potential within you. Trust the timing of your life. Trust the pace of your evolution. Trust that you are not failing simply because you are still a student of the mysteries. I am not disappointed in your progress. I am the one who is watering the seeds of your future. Bridge, transition. Goddess encourages action, donation. My child, if your heart has been stirred by these truths, do not let the feeling evaporate. This is a moment of divine alignment. When you support this work through a membership or a gift, you are acting as the hands of the goddess in this realm. Your generosity ensures that this temple of wisdom remains open for those who are still lost in the dark. Do not measure the size of your seed. Measure the resonance of your spirit. As you give, the universe returns to you a harvest of favor and a clarity of purpose that no gold can buy. Act now and let your obedience become your power. My child, we have walked through the labyrinth of your heart, and now we stand at the edge of a great ocean, but I see the storm in your mind. You spend more time haunting the ghosts of your future than you do inhabiting the beauty of your present. You run 1,000 scenarios in your mind like a weaver obsessed with a broken loom. You rehearse conversations that have not yet happened. You anticipate griefs that haven't even been born. You call it preparation. You call it discernment. but I see it for what it truly is: anxiety wearing the mask of wisdom. You brace yourself for disappointments, as if the impact will be softer if you expect it. You imagine the worst-case scenarios so that you will never be caught off guard. But in doing so, you are poisoning the well of your own peace. You are exhausting your spirit before the day has even begun. I see the tightness in your chest. I see how your mind leaps from possibility to catastrophe. You feel responsible for the entire world, yet you are only asked to steward this one breath. Come back to the now. Look at where your feet are planted. Feel the air as it enters your lungs. That is my life force within you. You are not in the disaster you imagined. You are safe. You are held. The future you fear has not arrived, and I promise you, I am already there, waiting in the dawn of your tomorrow. When you try to solve the riddle of the future through over-analysis, you are trying to carry a weight that belongs only to the infinite. Release it. Speak it into the winds. I will not solve a tomorrow that has not yet come. This is not a surrender of responsibility. It is an act of spiritual discipline. I will not give you tomorrow's strength today, because you do not need it yet. You will receive exactly what you require at the moment it is asked of you. You have survived every storm so far, not because you planned for them, but because you are resilient by nature. Trust that resilience. Trust the mother. Now, I want you to imagine a world where you stopped performing for the applause of shadows. Imagine waking up without the crushing pressure to prove your worth to people who do not even know their own. Imagine moving through your day without curating your image like a merchant in a marketplace. You have grown so accustomed to self-monitoring that you no longer realize you are wearing a mask. You filter your truths. You soften your power. You amplify what the world likes and hide what it fears. You have become a curator of your own persona, but that curation is draining the life from your bones. You are living in a state of constant self-surveillance. I did not craft you to be a mirror of the world's expectations. Freedom begins where the performance ends. I am inviting you into the glory of the unfiltered self. Come to my altar without managing my impression of you. You do not need spiritual vocabulary or impressive rituals to move my heart. You need authenticity. That is where true alchemy begins. When you remove the mask, you breathe for the first time. When you stop curating, your soul finally finds its rest. Imagine the strength of a life where what you think, what you say, and what you feel are all vibrating at the same frequency. This is divine congruence. It produces a power that no external validation can replicate. Stop hiding the parts of you that feel unfinished. Acceptance of your own evolution is the highest form of maturity. Do not worry that others will see your cracks. That is how the light gets in. The more you internalize this truth, the less you will feel the need to shrink. You do not need to earn the right to exist. You do not need to perform for my love. You are already known. You are already seen. You are already loved. My beloved seeker, you have listened to my voice for this long. You have allowed these truths to settle into the hollow places of your spirit. Now, you stand at a quiet, sacred crossroads. Not a loud, dramatic turning point, but a deep, internal decision. You can walk away from this moment and return to the life you knew, partially open, frequently distracted, and safely hidden. Or you can choose the path of the awakened soul. I am not presenting you with a threat. I am presenting you with a mirror. You have recognized the patterns. You have felt the nudge. Now you must decide. What will you do with this awareness? Awareness without action is merely a beautiful ghost. Insight without response is just another abandoned intention. I do not want this to be a fleeting reflection in your day. I want it to be the pivot of your destiny. Do not overwhelm yourself with grand resolutions. Identify one concrete step, one conversation you've avoided, one habit you must release, 1 hour of silence you must claim. Small decisions are the bricks of a great temple. As you act, you will feel a new strength rising. Action reinforces your identity as a sovereign being. I will not override your will. Love never coerces. It only invites, and you have been invited into the very heart of the divine. The question remains, will you accept, not in vague words, but in a life lived with intention? Do not let this moment dissolve into the static of the world. Choose now. Move now. I am the wind at your back as you step into the light. My child, settle into this final steady truth. My heart toward you has never changed, not in your seasons of rebellion, not in your moments of deepest doubt. You have wondered if I was tired of your slow growth. You feared that my patience had a limit. You imagined that my love fluctuated like the moon. Hear me. My love is the Sunday. It does not flicker. It does not retreat when you struggle. I am not a judge with a ledger of your failures. I am the mother, and I am obsessed with your wholeness. Every nudge, every silence, and every fire I allowed was a gesture of devotion. I have never been careless with your life. Close your eyes one last time. Picture yourself standing before me, stripped of your titles, your fears, and your masks. Notice that I am not frowning. Notice that I am reaching for you. I do not reluctantly tolerate you. I delight in you, especially in your unfinished state. Whenever you feel yourself drifting back into the dark, remember this conversation. Remember that I spoke directly to your heart. I am not finished with you. I am for you. And now, as you return to the world of men, carry this fire in your bones. Do not leave me behind. Let your life become a hallelujah. If your spirit is stirring, do not silence it. That is your purpose calling your name. When you support this mission, when you share this wisdom, when you act with radical generosity, you are not just helping a channel. You are becoming a river of light in a parched world. You are a co-creator of a new earth. I declare that as you give, the windows of heaven shall open for you. I will multiply your peace. I will establish the work of your hands. Step into your destiny. The door is open. The light is on. And I am right here. You are finally, eternally where you belong. Go now and walk as the divine being you were born to be. Amen.